Hello everybody and welcome back. It is the best time of the month. It is time to do my January reading wrap up. I read / listened to a total of 10 books, which is more than I anticipated reading, but 2 of those were audiobooks, so I think that really helped me. Plus, it's been a long month. It's been a long, not super fun month. So let's go over all of the books I read. We got some sprayed edges. You can probably tell what I already read, but we're just going to go through it one by one as I yap your ear off about all the books I read. So first I read Blue Sisters by Coco Malors. Now, did this book absolutely rip my soul out and then patch it back up and put it back? Yeah, it did. And it was tough. It was a tough read, as I kind of expect all Coco Malors books to do. This is only her second one. I read Cleopatra and Frankenstein last year. And when I read that book, I gave it like quite a low rating for me because I was so emotionally spent. And at the time I had never read anything like that. So going into this book, I felt a little bit more prepared, and I gave this one 4 stars because I'm holding out for like that 5-star Coco Malors book that I feel like is gonna absolutely kill me. So this book is about 3 sisters who come back together in the wake of the 4th sister's death. Slight spoiler here, although it is on page 2 of the prologue, but the way that the 4th sister dies, Nikki, she dies from an overdose of painkillers because she has endometriosis, and she's 27 years old. I am also 27 years old with endometriosis. So page 2 of the prologue, I was like, oh, we're in for a wild and not fun ride for me personally. I just want to read that. Like, what really just kind of stuck out to me here was nothing about her life portended her death except for the fact that she was in pain. And I do like to keep things light. I do like to laugh my way through life because if I succumb to the pain, I may never get out of it. But that's just the reality of living with a chronic illness and chronic pain. Be prepared for how heavy it is. The dealings of grief, but also just like because of those 2 facts, like her age and her illness, like I was able to relate to her so much. Like she took these pills because she wanted to live, and in the end they killed her. It was just hard, and just the way the sisters have to deal with the grief was just very tough, and that's all I'll say. Like, it's so beautifully written, so well done, but like just it hurt my heart specifically. If you can't relate, maybe it'll hurt you a little bit less, but still be prepared for the emotional punch. Then I read Fear the Flames on my Kobo. Here's a picture of the book cover. What did I give this? 2.5, maybe 3 stars? I'm here for it, but it wasn't super well done. I will read the sequel. This is a fantasy book about a princess who, when she was born, she bonded like 5 dragons, which I think is too much. I think the author should have changed that. That's just a little too like it sounds fake. But she bonded 5 dragons, and then everyone was like super scared of her, and so like as a little girl they threw her in the dungeon, and then she gets out, and now she's like on a quest to like take back her kingdom. There's some enemies to lover stuff that I did like, but the character just felt a little too pick-me. Like she was like, I like books and croissants and dragons and dresses. And I was like, okay, girl, let's chill. I didn't hate it though, by any means. I just felt like it was a little bit too, like, it was cringy. That's what it was, but not in a terrible way, but just in a little way. So I have hopes for the second one. I'm hoping that the second one can deliver. Either way, like sometimes you just need like a trashy book, and I don't mean that like it's garbage, but I mean that kind of like trashy television, like reality television. It's like, I'm enjoying this even though it's kind of a mess. You know what I mean? I hope I'm doing a good job at selling this, because like if you don't take it too seriously and just have a good time, and you'll probably really enjoy this. But a little bit of it was cringy, and that's, yeah. Then I read Daydream by Hannah Grace, which is my favorite in the Maple Hills trilogy. Are there going to be more? I don't know. Icebreaker, and then Wildfire, and then Daydream. And Daydream is just the best one. It is quite long for a romance book. I don't normally like 430 pages is a lot, but I did feel like these characters were a lot more realistic and grounded. Hannah Grace took a step back from like the heavy load of spice. There wasn't that much, which was a nice breath of fresh air, like from the other two. Like, whatever, you read them and you know what you're getting into. I'm not complaining about what they are, but it was just different from the rest, and it was like a nice little difference. Yeah, the characters are much more believable and realistic, and the way they form their relationship is really good. I think I gave this one 3 stars. I didn't like how some of the characters communicated with each other. I was like, that should have been handled a lot better. If you love somebody the way that you say you do, maybe don't communicate that way, even if you're learning. Well, okay, if you're learning, we can forgive, but I don't know. That was just my only gripe, was like a couple of the instances I was like, this could have been resolved a lot sooner if y'all would have just talked. It wasn't even a miscommunication trope. It was like, they're just not talking. I liked that. It was very nice. I then listened to 2 audiobooks. I did do an audiobook reading vlog a couple weeks ago. I listened to The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley, which I don't feel I can give an accurate rating because I'm not good at audiobooks to this day. I'm trying to get into them, but I'm so distracted. If I'm doing anything, I'm just distracted. And if I'm just sitting there listening, then my mind wanders. So I had a very difficult time paying attention. This one was like a thriller, a little bit of like occultish stuff in it maybe, but I feel like I missed the majority of the point because I just couldn't concentrate. When you're, especially with like a thriller or a mystery, I missed so many context clues that probably would have helped out. So it doesn't feel fair to give it a rating. I would really like to go back and physically read it, and maybe I'll try like reading and listening at the same time, but I couldn't pick up as much on that one. That being said, after that I listened to Twisted Love by Anna Huang, and I have really no interest in the Twisted series, but I've been trying to get into audiobooks, and this audiobook was on sale for like $5, so I was like, hey, why not? It's there, let's try it. This one was so much easier to pay attention and follow along with because it is so much more simple. That being said, I don't think it's for me. That kind of love story, I don't know. I wouldn't even call it like a dark romance because it's not, but it's like he does stalk her. And he's possessive to the point where I'm uncomfortable, and I know that we can enjoy things in books that we don't in real life, and that's totally valid, and I understand that, but it made me uncomfortable. That's the only thing. I was able to like enjoy it in the context of what it was, like enjoy it for what it is, but I don't know. It just wasn't like kind of like the billionaire over possessive boyfriend, like really isn't my forte. So I'm gonna give it 3 stars, and 3 stars is pretty much like my base level where it's like, this wasn't for me, but I see the appeal and I understand that it is for some people. So I probably will not continue with the Twisted series, but that being said, a romance audiobook was so much easier to follow than a thriller audiobook for me personally. And then I read one of my most anticipated reads of my life, maybe, and I don't know why it took me so long, but I got this book for Christmas from my husband. I got I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, and this is not a long book by any means. It is not even 200 pages. Oh, goodness. 5 billion stars. If I could give it all the stars, I would. This is going to haunt me and stick with me for the rest of my life, and I think about it so often. It's about 40 women who are kept in a cage underground, 39 grown women and 1 female child, and they have no idea why they're there. There are guards. They're like fed periodically throughout the day. They're not allowed to touch. They're given very limited like materials to make clothing. Like, it's just, they have no idea why they're there, and all of the adult women have some sort of recollection of what life was like before. Some of them remember that they had partners, they had children, they had jobs, but they can't remember how they got there. And of course, the child is growing up there from infancy and has never known anything different. So it's this huge mystery of why they're underground, like what's the purpose, what's going on. And then one day, through events that I won't spoil, but it is on the back that they do get out. And it's just, yeah, I can't say anything more, I guess, without spoiling it, but this journey of what has happened, why it's happened, this journey of love and acceptance and just what it is to be human, and I think more specifically what it is to be a woman. Because men play zero roles. They were men guards, but once they're out, they're out. They play really they serve no purpose in the story to progress it forward. But it's a very haunting, eerie book. You keep waiting for the shoe to drop, and it's just kind of that anticipation that just makes this book so sweet. Like, it was so good. The ending, really, I won't spoil it, but that closing line, I've tabbed it, I've bookmarked it, was just so good and so profound. And it's just one of those thought pieces, one of those thought books that it's gonna stick with me for a long time. I would encourage everybody to read it, though. It's quick and it's haunting. Then I read A Study in Drowning, which I also got for Christmas from my lovely husband. It's got these gorgeous sprayed edges. Oh my gosh. And I heard some mixed things about this book. Some people were like, it under-delivered, or it wasn't what I expected, and some people love it. I'm in the camp that I love it, okay? 5 stars. I cannot wait for the sequel. This was the atmospheric kind of dark academia fantasy book that I've been craving. I've been chasing that high ever since One Dark Window. Any kind of like dark fantasy that isn't like dark in terms of subject matter, but dark in terms of atmosphere and vibes, and this was so good. I wish I could eat it. I just love fantasy worlds where it's like you're mortals, you're humans, but then there's all this like fairy lore, and it's like some people believe it, some people don't, but there's all these there's all these clues and all of these little things, and I just love it. I'm gonna have a hard time explaining it as I do, but our main character Effie is studying at the architecture college, although she wants to be in the literature college. However, women are not allowed. She's grown up being obsessed with this author called Emery's Mirden, who was the author of her favorite book, and she's read all his work. She knows everything about him. And so the opportunity arises for an architect student to go to the manor. This is after the author has died. Go to the manor and kind of rebuild it, refurbish it, resave it. So she goes. There happens to be a literature student there also studying his work, and they uncover some mysteries, some stuff that has happened, and a lot of things unfold, and it's just very good, atmospheric. I was fully immersed. I do love the story of kind of women in literature and how that's still maybe kind of a newish development. It wasn't always allowed, and just how women are treated. There's, it's repeated by so many men throughout the book of like, women have frivolous minds. Like, they could never write. They could never really add anything to society in that term. So very good. Loved it. I can't wait for the sequel. And then of course, I got and read Onyx Storm. Again, beautiful sprayed edges. This is the third in the Fourth Wing series, and again, mixed reviews, but knowing who I am, this was instantly a 5 stars, and I knew it was gonna be, because all the other 2 have been 5 stars. Really, honestly, I don't think Rebecca Yarros could disappoint me in this series. It was just so good to be back, It was so good to be back in this world, and I'm just so sick of the notion that it's just like a smutty, silly fantasy book. Like, the smut really took a backseat in this book because there were other things going on, but Rebecca Yarros does such a good job at balancing politics. Like, this takes place in a war college. The importance of, or the dangers of power, and the importance of, or still, I guess, the dangers of erasing history. Like, there was so much going on that I felt was very important and very timely. And then, yeah, we've got dragons and we've got an awesome love story. It's everything I could want. I had such a good time. and I loved it. So if you didn't, keep it to yourself. Then I read my second Frida McFadden book. I read The Boyfriend. Again, y'all, with the mixed reviews. And I get it. Art is subjective. I loved it. 4 stars because I wanted more at the end. And maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I just don't have a lot of experience with thrillers and mysteries, but I ate it up. Every time I thought that I had this figured out, Frida pulled a full 180 and I was like, whoa, didn't see that coming, even though I was so sure that I had it. But it was just so good. This was about this girl named Sydney, and she's 34, and she's like, man, I really just want to settle down, get married, and have kids, but dating is so hard. And then she meets like the perfect guy, but is he really perfect, or is he a psychopath? And it was just so good. I had so fun. Like, I read it within 24 hours. I couldn't put it down. These read to me, again, this is only my second Frida McFadden book. I've only ever read The Housemaid by her. But again, these read so easy and so quick for me that like I can so easily read this in a day because it doesn't feel like I'm reading. It's just like boom, boom, boom. Oh my gosh. Wild ride. Was it as satisfying as The Housemaid? No. But it was so good and I loved it. There's a character at the end of this that I'm left not knowing what happened to them, and I want to know. I feel bad for this person. I want to know what happened. And then I finished off the month with Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. This series, 5 stars for the whole series. From now until forever. The next book comes out in February, and I'm so excited. I've pre-ordered it. It should be here in like 2.5 weeks. I don't tend to see myself as characters in books often, but if I were, it would be Emily Wilde. Like, girl and me, we're vibing. Like, if I wrote a fantasy book, it would be this. And now I can never write a fantasy book because I fear I would just plagiarize this whole thing because it's so good. It's just so interesting, so immersive in the folk world. And Emily and Wendell, aren't they just the cutie patootiest? I want them to be together forever. I love them so much. They have my whole heart. And I don't normally go for blonde men, but I'll make an exception for Wendell. Thank you guys so much for watching my January reading wrap-up. I hope you liked it. I hope it gave you some book inspiration. Let me know what are some of the books that you read this month, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!